Okay. All right. Afternoon, everybody. Appreciate everybody being here on a Sunday after the game. Obviously, not real happy about the way that game went. I thought we really found a lot of ways to lose a game. 12 penalties being one of them. 6 red zone opportunities, 1 touchdown, false starting on the 1-yard line going in. Getting a freshman ejected from the game who had 80 yards in two catches. Not converting on a 2-point play where should have had him, pretty open. Dropping a ball at the end of the half when it was 14-9 to go in. Probably get another score there if we catch that. Having 10 guys on the field for a 2-point play on defense. Just pretty disappointed in terms of those plays. Threw a pick six down 2 scores on the 20-yard line on 1st and 10 and took a sack, which is fine to take a sack if you have to, but don't take a sack and then put the ball on the ground and then get it scooped up and score and brought to the 1-yard line. So 2 turnovers cost us 14 points, a penalty on a fair catch, which I need better clarification on that. Traditionally, the rule has always been anybody can signal for a fair catch. And then whenever anybody signals for it, once that is caught, it should be considered a fair catch. But we'll see if that clarification comes back differently than that. But that being the case, that ended up leading to a safety. So you had 16 points there, and we wound up, being in a game where it was, I think the final was, 23 points. So that would have been a 1-score game, and we moved the ball pretty much up and down the field, and then got ourselves stopped in some bad spots. Got ourselves stopped obviously on the 6, got ourselves on the 10, got ourselves stopped on really 3 different 1st and goals. Then we had a 4th and 2 that turned into a face mask, which made it 3rd and 17. So we had 2 more red zone opportunities that got prevented because of penalties. So for that, I was disappointed in last night's game. I thought we did a lot of good things. Will Plummer was 73% completion for over 50 yards, I think it was, 346. That's obviously his highest completion percentage of the year. It was the most amount of yards he threw. And, over the course of the last few games, he's really done a nice job of protecting the ball. And, we're throwing the ball 114 times in the last 3 games. He's thrown 2 picks, but one of them was a real timely one, which was last week's, or the ASU game. So that was kind of my feelings on that game. For the season, I feel like there's a lot of positives and a lot of negatives. And I'll just say on the positive side of things, I would say that we certainly, in total defense, improved tremendously. We moved up, 58 spots and 62 spots accordingly in the last couple of years. I think we ended up 5th in the Pac-12. I thought offensively, I think in the Pac-12 we're 4th or 5th in passing offense. With 3 different quarterbacks, I think that's a positive. I feel like we ended up, Stanley Berryhill had 83 catches or 84 catches. I thought that was a positive. I thought our punter did a nice job. I thought Kyle did a really, really good job, 1st in the Pac-12. I thought our kickoff, Lucas Haversick, 1st in the country in touchbacks. 44 out of 52 kicks were touchbacks. We did block 2 punts, which I thought was a positive. Our pass defense was 2nd in the Pac-12, 14th in the country. That's a positive. But I believe that what we really need to do is we really need to focus in on a few things this year. Number one, we have to be the best recruiting staff in the country that we possibly can be. We need to be absolutely relentless when it comes to recruiting talent to Tucson. Number two, I think we have to be great developmental coaches. We must develop the talent we have here to be better than we've been, and we have to not fall into the this is how it's been routine. It has to be harder, tougher, more disciplined, stricter, and really find a way to get better. Thirdly, we cannot go another year taking the football away 6 times all season long. And we cannot go another year turning the ball over 22 times. We cannot have that. That is a formula for failure. So we recognize that, and that will change. We cannot have the amount of penalties that we had. It was just to have 2 back-to-back 12-penalty games is extremely frustrating, extremely disappointing, and we can't allow that to occur. And then finally, we must become better in the red zone, offensively and defensively. I mean, there is so many of opportunities to score touchdowns, and we found ways not to score them. And that will have to change if we're going to become the type of football team that I really believe we can become. We had a great team meeting this morning. Talked to the team about that. Showed the team what a bowl schedule looks like so they could see the teams that are practicing 15 times over the next 4 weeks. We're not permitted to practice any with coaches. The teams that are lifting 8 times, we're not permitted to require any. So how do you get better when you have teams that are practicing 15 times and you're practicing 0, teams that are lifting 8 times and you're practicing 0, and then on January 12th when you return back, you got teams that had a major advantage. A, they had a better record, and B, they were able to take advantage of a December. So we challenged our team to create their own bowl schedule. There's no rule that says that our players can't figure out what they need to do to win and what they need to do to have a great December. And they have the opportunity to voluntarily choose to do whatever they would like to be able to get better during this time and not just use it as 3 weeks early of vacation. So I'm hopeful we finish with great grades, we do a great job with our community, and we make sure that we do a great job getting better as a football team.
Questions? Michael?
There was some sort of incident with a grounds crew member yesterday before the game. What did you see? What do you know about that whole situation?
Yeah, I just saw it as I walked in here, so I did not see any of it. It seemed like it happened in warm-up when we were running. It looked like team drills or something prior to the start of the game, but I did not see or any of it other than what I just saw pictures on Twitter.
In the future, how do you make sure your players know the difference between being aggressive on the field and being disciplined off the field as far as interactions with the other team or penalties or whatever the case might be?
Yeah, it's I was thinking today, I was watching ESPN last night late, and it's, you see the fight that happens between Florida and Florida State in the game. Then you see a fight that happened between 2 other teams in the rivalry game. And there has to be some, determination, decision, plan that, hey, this is just not okay. We have to have serious ramifications for teams that are going to get involved in pre-game scuffles, stupidity between you and another team. I mean, it's not what you do. I mean, these guys they all want to say they want to be NFL players, and then they turn around and get in ridiculous fights before a game because of a thought that they're supposed to do that because it's a rivalry game. But in the other 11 games, they wouldn't even consider doing it. So I don't know the exact answer to that. But I do know that it will certainly be addressed. not just with our team, but I believe it should be addressed to the point that some of them that was going on yesterday were just absurd. You'd see more highlights of fights in rivalry games than you do the highlights of the good football. Oregon State had one I think I saw. As a matter of fact, that was another one that I saw. And you just hope that you just see good football on rivalry Saturday and not see the extracurricular nonsense.
Brian.
How many players do you anticipate signing here in 17 days, I guess it is?
Yeah.
It looks like 15 are committed. What number are you expecting to sign?
Yeah, I think we're able to sign up to 23. That is what our recruiting number permits this year. And then with the new transfer rule, anybody that transfers after December 15th, you then receive that spot back, and then you could sign up to an additional 7 players, high school or transfer. I don't believe on December 15th we might get up to 23 because we might have to save a couple spots for transfers, not knowing how many will go there. But that's where we're at this moment.
Justin.
So do you think adding high school guys is going to be a light class because of the transfer portal and how you guys are going to attack that?
Yeah, I think that the transfer portal is so hit or miss. It's like free agency. I'd prefer to build through the draft than free agency and then use the transfer portal to be able to fill in certain gaps. I really like the young kids that want to be a part of our program. It's always easier to train than retrain. And as we're trying to establish a certain culture, my hope and belief would be to be able to use as many high school seniors that have won championships and been a part of championship-like programs to infiltrate the locker room and then be able to grab a few here or there from the portal. But I don't envision it being as much portal as it is high school.
Greg.
How different is the experience of calling plays without having a head coach to go through?
Well, when I was at I haven't really I've never worked for an offensive head coach other than Harbaugh when I called the plays. So everywhere I've been, I really haven't had to go through the head coach to call plays. I've been very fortunate, whether it would be Jim Moore, Gus Bradley, or Al Golden, or Tim Brewster, all those guys that I called plays for, other than I would say Jim, where we and really it was going through it, but he was phenomenal. I don't think he ever changed one play call that we made. I think the only difference sometimes is you might say something like, hey, you good with me running a double pass here, where, maybe I just called it the second play of the game or something to that effect. But I do try to go through the staff on some of those things and try to, hey, you guys comfortable with this? Everybody good with that? And but, it's the biggest difference is just when you're not up in the press box and you're calling it from the sideline, which I did at UCLA and at the Jacksonville and some of the other places, Miami. You do have, less time to think, and you got to be able to kind of make sure you're on top of your game.
Rich.
Jedd, you talked about the penalties. Someone called up last night asking about them. What did you do during the season to address them? And how do you go forward with the staff cleaning those up during the offseason?
Well, clearly what I did during the season wasn't good enough, so we're going to change that. We ran for penalties, and we addressed them, and we talked about, we played out kind of the game with or without the penalty, the series, what would happen if, right? It's third and goal on the 1. Okay, do you believe that you could score within 2 plays? If the answer is yes, and that's 7 points. It's third and goal on the 6, you miss a throw, and you kick a field goal, and it's 3 points, and now it's a 4-point penalty. So it's not just 5 yards, it's 4 points. We had a 4th and 2 where we would have gone, in a game where it was a 2-score game, and it became 4th and 17. You just are 3rd and 17, and then your chances of converting that. And there was too many of those. So to answer your question is, we addressed it weekly. This was not something I didn't know about, that we were committing penalties. There was, and penalties are a big deal, but they're not the only deal, right? I would like to see us get down to half the amount of penalties. But the least penalized team in our conference was 4-8. So it doesn't necessarily all correlate to wins and losses based on penalties. What we don't have the ability to do at this point in time is we don't have the margin for error to be highly penalized and also try to execute. We need to make sure that we be disciplined in what we're trying to get done. Run the right route, block the right guy, make the right read, be in the right gap. Don't let somebody get outside of you for 48 yards because you blitzed the wrong gap. And next thing you know, have a penalty and add 15 to it. So we'll address it. It's not going to be fun this offseason. The first offseason we got to learn each other, right? And we got to know each other. This offseason we got to figure out a way to take from where we were to where we want to be, and we got to do an unbelievable job of improving every single day and improving as a team building, team bonding, getting to know one another even more, and then have a group of guys that don't want to repeat this.
Can I follow up real quick? What kind of feedback did you get from the players for some of the false starts, illegal procedure, illegal formation? What was their feedback why it happened? It's unfortunate, as I think I used the reference last week, that it's kind of like, a boat that has a hole in it, but then as soon as you plug it, then the hole comes from somewhere else. It's, Jordan Morgan false starts, then Stanley Berryhill false starts, then Anthony Simpson false starts. So, I don't know, right? I wish I could say, hey, one guy doesn't concentrate or one guy, it's a snap count issue, but receivers don't hear the snap count. They're not supposed to. They're supposed to look at the ball. Quarterback's supposed to make sure everybody's set. We weren't. And, the left tackle, flinched. And those are the things. Now, the other penalties in special teams, those are things that we have to clean up, obviously. And then the nonsense on sportsmanlike conduct penalties are just ridiculous.
For a couple more, we got Jason and Michael.
What position group would you say is your biggest priority with recruiting?
I would say based on depth purposes, we're going to have to really look at the linebacker core. We're going to see where we're at there because of just in terms of with Pandy graduating, see where Jerry comes back with his injury. So we'll have to see where we are there. I think we'll have to look at O-line, in terms of depth, where we're building that up because, we have everyone's back, but then no one's back. The freshmen are back, of course, both JT and Josh Baker, but, you've got Jordan, you've got Peyton, you've got Josh McCauley, those guys, you've got two of those guys that have 1 year left and Josh moving on. So we have to add to that room. And but we're out looking for, we're looking for talent. We are looking for playmakers. Excited to get Majon Wright back. He'll be eligible again. Excited for Dorian Singer. Obviously, we know where he's at, and then we're going to go attack. The recruiting trail the best we can. We need to bring in some great players here to continue to compete and make everyone better.
And then the other day you didn't want to kind of dive into it before the ASU game.
Yeah.
But what are you looking for in a defensive coordinator?
Yeah. So, one of the things that is really important to me is that we really focus in on some of the things that were deficient. As I mentioned to Coach Brown, and as I mentioned the whole team at the end of the game, what Coach Brown did for our program is tremendous. He brought in a passion for defense. He brought in a mentality of aggressiveness. And he laid down a great foundation of, how we can play football. Man coverage team. We were challenging the quarterback. We improved upon sacks and whatnot. Now we have to find guys that are going to improve upon taking the ball away, red zone defense, continuing to develop the talent we have. We're going to look for a great talent developer, a great recruiter, someone that's really going to absolutely go out there and harvest talent, find talent, search for talent, and really make sure that we continue to bring in great players. Someone that coaches with incredible passion similar to Coach Brown in that regard, different maybe in terms of personality, but someone that you can feel and see on the field. And then somebody that's very familiar with the West Coast. I'd like to make sure that the next coordinator that we hire is someone that's very familiar with the Pac-12, the West Coast, and what we need to do here in this conference to win.
We'll finish with Michael.
Handful of questions related to defensive coordinator. What is your ideal timetable for getting that finalized?
Sooner rather than later. I would like to be able to start talking to some guys over the next 24 hours. And, depending on where I would hope to go, hopefully have it done by the middle of the week.
Okay. Does that person have to have prior experience as a defensive coordinator in college?
No.
Not necessarily.
No, I don't think that's not a prerequisite. I believe that, now, usually you'd find someone that's either been a pass game coordinator, a run game coordinator, an assistant head coach, a co-defensive coordinator, or a defensive coordinator. One of those five, they would have had that. We're not going to hire someone that's been a position coach and has had no coordinator responsibilities of some nature. But we are going to make sure that the guy we hire is able to put the whole package together and also able to do a great job of understanding the talent we need.
Is it a prerequisite that you know that person or have worked with that person before?
No. Well, worked with them, no. That's not a prerequisite at all. Knowing them, to what degree? No. Traditionally, you kind of know of people. If you don't know them personally, I would say that every candidate that I have on my list is somebody either I do know or I know of based on someone else that I do know, or someone else on our staff has possibly worked with them, or I've worked with them in the past. And we're going to try to, look at our list and limit our list to those guys that understand what they're going to undertake. I would like to have somebody that's been a part of a rebuild. I would like to have somebody that's been a part of taking something from where we are and recognizing how important it is to develop the talent we have and to also gain confidence in our team.
Is Coach Walker under consideration for this, having had prior defensive coordinator?
Yeah, I think we have a few coaches on our staff that have prior defensive coordinator. We have 3 of our 4 defensive coaches have all been coordinators at the time. But as I mentioned to them, I also believe we'll be, as I said to you guys last week, we're going to open it up to other coaches as well that have been coaching at other teams and that are in the West Coast as well.
Do you expect Coach Studzinski to join Coach Brown in UMass?
I have not heard that. I would say that I'm sure he'll probably have a decision to make at some point in time. Because I know how close they are. But right now, I expect our entire coaching staff to be on the road tomorrow recruiting. Actually, I think I saw a lot of them walking out with their collared shirts and their hangers right now. So I believe that we will be hitting the states hard, and all 9 guys will be out there.
These 11 states that you're going to.
Yeah, I don't know all of them. I believe I will be heading to Utah. I'll be heading to California. I'll be heading to Texas. I'll be heading to Massachusetts. Be heading to Florida. Be heading to New Jersey. I'll be heading to Nevada this week. And then we'll figure out what happens next week.
Sure, last one,
Just
Jason.
one more.
Yeah.
This roster, when you were hired, now that you've had a year to work with it, is it what you expected when you first, or do you look at it and say, okay, maybe we have a little bit more work to do than I anticipated?
I'm excited about who we have and excited about who will be joining. And I think that what I did see from our roster is the young guys on the roster have really shown that because of depth issues or injury issues, they were able to get a lot more playing time than necessarily expected. So you can kind of get a better feel of who they are. A guy like Parrish Shan. had 280 reps. I don't think going into it we thought as a COVID freshman he was going to have 280 reps. Obviously, a guy like Will Plummer, who threw the ball 270 times this year, that was new, you know. But, yeah, there was some depth issues that we had to deal with. I think trying to understand the roster better is the key. Roster management is a huge part of trying to build this program, so you're able to always continue to have better players each year and not have to have drop-offs and try to find guys. Guys like Christian Young, guys like Christian Rollins-Wallace, guys like Jackson Turner, guys like Stanley Berryhill. You know, those guys are going to be really, really good players, and looking forward to seeing them continue to develop.
All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Coach.
Okay.
Thanks, Coach.
I appreciate all of you guys this whole season. It was not the easiest one, but we all managed to get through it, and looking forward to the future.